Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Ice Cream Man Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 and 2 covers issues 1 through 8 of the series. Now Ice Cream Man is a very creepy, weird, bizarre book. It is probably one of the most unique comics out there. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. But yeah, really creepy and really weird. It is the perfect Halloween book. It is about a demonic Ice Cream Man, and every issue is self-contained and creepy, and the Ice Cream Man kind of affects people within the story. This book was adapted, or was going to be adapted, as a show on that streaming service Quibi. You guys remember Quibi? But, Quibi failed, and Ice Cream Man never got filmed, but maybe one day someone else will pick up Ice Cream Man and adapt it. But yeah, let's dive into it now. Ice Cream Man Volume 1. Ice Cream Man Volume 1, Rainbow Sprinkles, written by W. Maxwell Prince, art by Martín Morazzo, and colors by Chris O'Halloran. Introduction. Our main character is named Rick Sweet, aka Ricardus, aka the Ice Cream Man. It is not clear if he is a man, a god, or a demon, but he does seem evil. His counterpart, who seems to be the good guy, is named Caleb, aka the Man in Black. Every issue of Ice Cream Man is for the most part self-contained. A lot of the issues are pretty bizarre, weird, creepy, and don't make sense. It is kind of like the Twilight Zone in this way. Now, despite each issue being self-contained, there are hints of an overall plot about the overarching rivalry between the Ice Cream Man and the Man in Black. Alright, now with that brief introduction out of the way, let's begin now. Issue 1, Raspberry Surprise! In the town of St. Generous, we see the Ice Cream Man named Rick. He is giving out ice cream to various children. Eventually, a little boy named Brian comes by and asks for 2 scoops of chocolate. The Ice Cream Man obliges and says, "Lickety split, fast as fast can be. You get home safe, alright?" And he hands Brian the cone. Brian, he returns home and he says hello to his pet poisonous spider named Rupert, who is extremely venomous. The boy calls out to his parents saying, "Mom, Dad, I'm home." The little boy talking to his spider says, "They've been so quiet lately, Roop. It's like they live in the kitchen." The little boy Brian goes into the kitchen and is oblivious to the fact that his parents are dead, and the spider most likely killed them with its poison. We head across town and we see some detectives at the police station. There is Detective Jolio Juan and Tony, and they are talking to a woman named Miss Chester. Miss Chester is talking to a sketch artist, telling them all about the thing that ate her cat, Mr. Buttersworth. The thing that ate her cat appears to be some sort of wolf man, at least according to the sketch. Miss Chester holds up her dead cat and exclaims, "He sucked the skin right off of it!" The 2 cops send her home, not believing her story. Another cop named Briggs says afterwards about the woman, "Who gives their cat a different last name?" Eventually, Juan and Briggs get called into their superior's office, and they are told that across town, Tom and Henrietta McAllister have been MIA for a few weeks, and they need to go check the house out. And they also have a kid named Brian. They gotta find out what happened with him. We see Brian. He is walking through the woods near his home, where he comes across the Ice Cream Man, who has his clothes torn off and shredded and looks pretty disheveled. The Ice Cream Man tells Brian, "Well, that was unpleasant." Brian asks, "Hey, you're the Ice Cream Man." The Ice Cream Man replies, "Huh? Looks like I am." "Say, what you got there?" Brian answers, "A stick?" The Ice Cream Man snaps his fingers and turns Brian's stick into an ice cream cone with 2 scoops of chocolate on top. The Ice Cream Man then leaves and tells Brian that he should probably go home. Juan and Briggs arrive at Brian's home. And on the TV in the home, the Ice Cream Man appears to have an ad on the TV. And the ad says, So find my truck and get yourself a treat, from butterscotch to bubblegum, sour balls and cherry blasters, and lickety splits. Something sweet for everyone. Something sweet for the bugs to eat. Briggs and Juan enter the kitchen in the home, and they find Brian's dead parents there. Rupert, the spider, lands on Briggs and bites him, causing Briggs to start foaming from the mouth, and he falls to the floor. Brian, he arrives, and he sees the two cops in his kitchen, and he tells them it's not Rupert's fault. He just doesn't like adults. Juan tries to calm Brian down. She says that she needs to get her friend Briggs here help. Brian is afraid, though, that she's going to take his pet Rupert away. So Brian, he runs outside and into the forest. Juan follows Brian. Eventually, the ice cream man seems to have reverted back into his werewolf form again. The ice cream man grabs Brian and is holding him up in the air. Juan arrives and points her gun at the werewolf ice cream man. The ice cream man throws a Brian at Juan, knocking them both back. But then Rupert the spider lands on the ice cream man and bites him. The ice cream man, as a werewolf, throws the spider high into the air and screams in pain, and the ice cream man then runs away. In the aftermath, Brian is sitting in the back of an ambulance in front of his home, while the police are investigating the scene. The police say that Brian's parents look like they died 2 weeks ago, and Brian has been raising himself ever since on a diet of cookies and ice cream. Juan asks where that spider is, but she is told the spider is MIA. We see the spider crawling around the neighborhood, and it eventually gets picked up by the ice cream man, who has now reverted back into his more human-looking form, and he is wearing a new fresh set of clothes. The ice cream man narrates chocolate, vanilla, strawberry banana, cookies and cream, rocky road, caramel, raspberry surprise. There is a flavor for everyone suffering, and make no mistake, everyone is suffering. The ice cream man, holding the spider, says, "Well, hello, little buggy." The ice cream man then magically snaps his fingers and turns the spider into some ice cream. The ice cream man then says, "Fast as fast can be, lickety split." He then serves the ice cream cone to us, the reader, and we see the now demonic smile plastered on his face. And then he continues driving down the road in his ice cream truck. His truck playing that oh so familiar ice cream truck music that draws all the kids near. Issue 2, Rainbow Sprinkles. Two drug addicts, Jimbo and Karen Daring, are suffering withdrawals, and they are in a bad way. They need more heroin now. They weren't always this way, though. They used to be innocent, dumb kids in love, but they got into drugs, and now they need more. And it got to the point that they would rob old ladies and variety stores and use the money to buy more drugs. On this particular day, things are dire. Jimbo seems like he's dying. Karen says that she will go out, and come hell or high water, she will get a fix for them both. Across town, a man named Phil and his wife named Alice are fighting. Phil's back hurts and he needs to take pain pills, and Alice says that she does everything for Phil, takes him to his appointments, cooks for him, takes care of him, and she tells him that he needs to start taking better care of himself. Phil, a little bit of a curmudgeon and an unhappy person, eats some soup that his wife made for him, and he tells her that it's cold. Karen, she is walking around and she is checking various cars, trying to find one that is unlocked that she can steal some stuff out of, or maybe steal the car entirely. Karen, as she is checking various cars, she eventually hears the music coming from the ice cream truck. Karen, she follows the music and she sees that the truck is empty. So she gets in and steals it and drives away, and she is driving frantically. Now the old couple back at their home, Phil and Alice, they are now outside of their house. Phil, he is apologizing for arguing with his wife earlier and being rude to her. Alice is angry, she says, "Day after day I slave away, cooking your meals and driving you to the doctor and washing your backside because you can't turn at the hips. And what do I get? I get, the soup is too cold." Phil, he continues apologizing, and eventually Alice tells Phil, "Get in the car, Phil. We're gonna be late for your orthopedist." As they get in the car, Karen in the stolen ice cream truck, she is driving frantically, and she accidentally smashes right into Alice and Phil's car. Both cars are totaled. Phil is dead. He is lying on the grass. He must have been flung from the car. Alice, she is sitting over her husband, checking with concern. Karen, she gets out of the ice cream truck, and she points her gun on Alice. Karen asks for Alice's money. Alice, she refuses though. She sees that Karen is a junkie, and Alice hears the police sirens coming their way. Alice tells Karen, "You hear those sirens, girlie? That's the police coming, and they're coming to lock your junkie butt up for murder." Karen tells Alice to shut up, and then she shoots Alice dead. Karen, she runs back to her home that she shares with Jimbo. When she bursts through the door, she tells her boyfriend, "Jimmy, get up, the cops are..." The ice cream man, though, he is sitting there inside of her home, like he was just waiting for Karen. The ice cream man tells Karen, "Hi, Karen. Old Jimbo here is not looking so hot. You borrowed my truck." Karen tries to explain herself, but the ice cream man just cuts her off and tells her, "Don't worry about it, I've got plenty. You're probably wondering what I'm doing here, how I got in, etc. I'm here, Karen, to offer you a treat. A little something for your sweet tooth." The ice cream man then holds up a bag of drugs and says, "It's the best you've ever had, purer than pure. Makes this other stuff seem like microwave dinners. But here's the rub. There's only enough for one person, I'm afraid. You, the recent harried fugitive, or poor Jimbo here, writhing on the couch in withdrawal. A real humdinger, right? You better choose quick, those sirens are getting awful close." The ice cream man, he left, and when the police arrive at Karen's house, Karen, she ended up taking the drugs herself, and she died of an overdose. And the cops, they managed to give some Narcan to Jim, and he recovered. In the aftermath, old Jimbo went clean. He went into a detox clinic, and then he started attending meetings with other recovering addicts, and he went on with his life. Issue 3, Good Old-Fashioned Vanilla. This is one of my favorite issues of Ice Cream Man, I think. Back in the 1950s, there was a man named Bud Hickey. He was part of a band called Bud Hickey and the Rockets. They had a one-hit wonder called Rock All the Time, and the song went like this. Rock in the morning, rock around noon, rock in the evening, rock it to the moon, so keep those hips a-swaying. 'Cause it ain't no crime. When they ask you when you rock, you just tell them, rock all the time. The song was huge back in the day, but now in the current day, Bud Hickey is just a sad old man sitting in a diner alone, relatively forgotten. Bud is humming his old song, and he asks the waiter, "You ever hear of that one, Dale? It was a big hit, rock all the time." The waiter replies as he pours Bud some coffee, "Yeah, Bud, I heard of that one. It's a good tune." Two teenagers in the diner recognize Bud, and they say how much of a loser he is now and what happened to him. The woman whispers, "I heard he drinks himself to sleep every night and starts up again first thing in the morning. Family's gone, royalties dried up, and he lives in that crumbling house down on Orchid." The ice cream man, he walks into the diner. He has a little travel-sized ice cream cart that he brings with him. The ice cream man is singing, "I scream, you scream, we all scream." The ice cream man, he then talks to Bud a bit, and Bud asks him, "Rick, that's your name, right?" And the ice cream man replies, "One of them." Bud asks him, "Question for you. Who's the father of rock and roll?" The ice cream man replies, "Simple, Elvis, he's the king." Bud replies, "That's what everyone says. Elvis, he gets all the credit, but Elvis didn't sell 60 million copies of one single worldwide. Elvis didn't write a hit so popular that he had to record it in 15 different languages." Bud, he then grows sad and says, I learned Portuguese so the kids in Lisbon could sing along. But then it all dried up. I tried to write, come up with another hit, but the music was just gone. What if I only had one good thing in me and that's it? I just know there's another song deep down somewhere. If I could just reach my fist into my mouth and pull it out of my gut. The ice cream man, he gives Bud some ice cream and tells him, cheer up with something sweet. The ice cream man then walks on. Bud, he returns to his home alone. He has all of his memorabilia of his glory days on the wall. Bud, he then hears some odd music coming from his basement. Bud, he follows the source of the music into his basement. And as he's walking down those steps, he thinks to himself, what if he could write another song? A new song? A follow-up to his original hit? What if he could capture that same lightning in a bottle a second time? Make a new song to save the world. But he opens a door in his basement, and on the other side of the door is a whole weird musical fantasy world filled with characters from various songs. An astronaut is there. Why, this astronaut is Major Tom from the songs by Peter Schilling and David Bowie. Major Tom tells Bud, welcome to the revolution, Bud. The astronaut then talks into a radio device and says, Ruby, I've got the hitmaker. What's your position? And then Ruby Tuesday from the Rolling Stones song arrives. And then a yellow submarine from the Beatles flies above them. And all of them get zapped aboard the yellow submarine. Ruby leads Bud into a room on the submarine and invites him to meet the music people. And in the room there is Eleanor Rigby from one of the other Beatles songs. There's Captain Jack from a Billy Joel song. Ziggy Stardust, which is David Bowie's stage persona. There's Rocky Raccoon, again from another Beatles song. Eleanor Rigby then pulls out a Hendrix Stratoblaster guitar and gives it to Bud. They all tell him that they will help him with his next big hit. Bud tells the group, you're not hearing me. I tried writing another hit. I tried Rock All the Time Part 2 and Keep on Rockin' All the Time, but it never worked. Eleanor Rigby tells Bud, now you listen to me, you lousy tuna sandwich. People have died so you could play this thing. My sweet father, Mackenzie. So you shut your trap and put your fingers on the fretboard and get writing. The yellow submarine then arrives at Harmony City, and a giant ice cream man statue is erected there with an ice cream cone head. Major Tom tells the group, music people, get ready to zap down. You'll have drippers on you soon as you set foot to dirt. Godspeed, everyone. They all get zapped to the ground, and the music people start zapping all the ice cream drippers that are flying around in the air, and they're shooting at them. The whole thing is really trippy. Ruby Tuesday, she goes down from all the ice cream that hit her, and Major Tom says, goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. She never stood a chance. These are all musical references, people, of the lyrics in the songs. Major Tom asks how the song is coming to Bud, and Bud answers, it's like it's stuck in my throat. I keep trying, but I can't get it out. Major Tom removes his helmet, and inside, we see Major Tom is the ice cream man. The ice cream man tells Bud, maybe you just need to quit thinking so hard, man, and just let the music come naturally, and play some good old-fashioned rock and roll. Bud, he starts playing that Stratoblaster. He is shredding it, and he sings, rock in the morning, rock around noon, rock in the evening, rock it to the moon, so keep those hips a-swingin', 'cause it ain't no crime. When they ask you when you rock, you just tell them, rock all the time. And then Bud, he hears his name, Bud, 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 Bud. But then Bud, he just wakes up. It was all a dream. He never left the diner. When the ice cream man gave him some ice cream earlier, Bud must have passed out and he was dreaming the whole thing. Bud, awake now, asks the waiter, did I do it? Did I save the world with a new song? The waiter, confused, replies, how about I fix you another pot of coffee, huh? Double strength this time. But he then sits in the diner, bummed out. And he didn't save the world. Outside of the diner, in the sky, we see a yellow submarine, and it flies on by. Issue 4. Every good boy does fine. A man named Joel is talking to his pregnant wife named Sheila. Joel is getting ready to go to a funeral for his dead friend named Chris Carson. Joel is supposed to speak at the funeral and give a eulogy. Sheila, his wife, is too pregnant to go. At the funeral, Joel is giving his eulogy, and it is well received. He talks about how Chris loved music, and that he would laugh, and it was like a chorus or a jingle when he did. He also talks about Chris's mood swings and bouts of self-deprecation. Joel says that Chris was a complex man, but simple. He loved it when the ice cream truck drove by, and he'd whistle the tune back. That's how I'll remember Chris, radiating music, licking a giant cone of vanilla on the sidewalk. Rest in peace, buddy. Once the funeral is over and most people have left, Chris's dad walks over to Joel. Chris's dad, Mr. Carson, was not in Chris's life that much, as he left Chris and Chris's mother when Chris was young. Mr. Carson tells Joel, "Really, really lovely, Joel. You always had a way with words." Mr. Carson hugs Joel, and Carson tells him, "With Chris's mom passed and me being, well, me, I wasn't sure who would speechify Chris proper, but of course it had to be you. Hey, I'm a sad old putz with no friends in town. You wanna grab a drink or something?" The two of them go to a bar and they cheers to Chris. Joel tells Carson that his wife Sheila is pregnant. Carson congratulates Joel. Joel asks Carson, "Why did you leave Chris and his mother when he was younger?" Joel, he then admits that he is considering leaving his wife Sheila as well. Carson replies, "Christ." Joel explains further and says, "It's like my life keeps chugging along without consulting me, without asking if I want to come along for the ride. And I keep thinking about what you did, and it seems so possible." Carson tells Joel that when he left, he was young and stupid. "You want to know where I took off to? I went and lived in a commune in the woods with a bunch of wannabe flower children, artists and musicians and self-described visionaries. We'd smoke dope and play music and have sex with farm animals. Sure, it sounds great, but it's not real." They then go outside of the bar, and Joel pukes a bit, having drank too much. Carson tells him, continuing to talk about his commune days, he says, "They called it free love, but any love worth its salt costs you. Being a dad seemed like a trap. I'd come home from a shift and Chris would be screaming, the kind of noise that made you want to shoot your brains out. But then Chris started with the music, and at 6 years old, the kid had more talent in his pinky than I'd had in my entire life. I thought my life had to be put on hold for him, that me and my wants had been erased by him, so I bailed. I walked out, but that other stuff out there, it's a trap, the world out there. It's a bunch of locked doors, and being a dad was my way out, and I blew it. And you had to speak at my son's funeral." Carson, he offers to drive Joel home as Joel is too drunk. While they're driving, Carson is in the car and he's crying, and he says he wish he could have just hugged his son once more and tell him that it's okay. Joel tells Carson, "And what if you could hug him one last time?" We then have a random interlude. Chris, who is dead, appears to be in hell. He is covered with spiders, and skeletons are then tickling him with feathers, and then dogs are operating on his brain for some reason. And then bad loud music is blasted in his face, and Chris, he lives through all sorts of torture. And Chris asks, "Where is he? Is he in hell? Am I in hell?" And the ice cream man is there, and the ice cream man answers, "You're in the sweet place where all the sick little boys and girls come to rot their teeth. You died and now you're here, easy peasy lickety split." Chris then, in this kind of hell, he relives his dad walking out on him as a boy over and over and over again. At the cemetery, Joel and Carson have removed Chris from his casket. He was being buried tomorrow, so he wasn't in the ground yet. And Mr. Carson, he hugs his boy's dead body and tells him that he is so sorry. The next day, the ice cream man is handing out ice cream once again to various boys and girls and adults. And then eventually a man named Caleb walks over. Caleb, the man in black. Caleb appears to be the ice cream man's adversary. Caleb talks to the ice cream man and says, "Almighty, you're still at this shit? I know what you've been doing to the people in this town, friend of mine, and I don't like it very much at all. No siree. So I guess I'll be seeing you around, pal." And then Caleb, the man in black, walks away. At this point, we are not exactly sure what the deal with their relationship or dynamic is, but the ice cream man seems to be terrorizing the people of this town, and Caleb seems to be against this, and has given the ice cream man, or Rick, a warning. That is the end of Volume 1, but I will be continuing on with Volume 2 in this video, so let's dive into Volume 2 now. Volume 2, Strange Neapolitan. Issue 5, Ballad of a Falling Man. A guy named Bill is standing atop his office building with maybe 100 floors or so. Bill, he jumps to his death down below. Everyone in the building, including Bill, seem to have been affected by this ice cream man. Before Bill dies, though, he is falling. And on the way down, we see all sorts of weird stuff going on various floors. On floor 89, vultures are eating someone's brain, and then pluck out this woman's eye. And all the woman says in response is, "Who turned out the lights?" We see a woman named Veronica. She is running frantically throughout the building. She is in the stairwell and she sees a man with his intestines hanging out. The man says, "He said there was something sweet inside me like a Cadbury egg." Was he right? Veronica, she keeps running, and Bill outside, he keeps falling. Around the 71st floor, Bill narrates a confession. He has 2 mistresses, and he loves them both. But what's worse is that he loves his wife, too. So Sheila, Candace, and Leanna, I'm sorry. And Bill, he keeps falling. Veronica, she runs into a man named Carl. She tells Carl that something terrible has happened in the building. Carl says that he's glad that she's here. Carl tells her that he loves her, and he always has loved her. Veronica replies, "Carl, but you're married to Tim." Carl says that Tim is a condescending prick, and then he holds up Tim's decapitated head. Carl comments, "He doesn't look so smart now, does he?" Veronica, she keeps running, and Bill outside, he keeps falling. For some reason, monkeys dressed as people are working on one of the floors. Veronica, she's on another floor where a vulture tries to attack her, but the vulture gets killed by a bow and arrow fired by Caleb, the man in black. Veronica wonders who this man is, but she keeps running. And Bill, he eventually lands and dies on the sidewalk down below and makes a mess everywhere. The police eventually block his body off from civilians on the street. Veronica, she is now outside the building on the ground floor, and she is trying to collect herself from all the weird stuff she saw inside. The ice cream man is then narrating to us, the reader, and he says, "Sure, you keep on trucking if it makes you feel better, but I got news for you, it doesn't matter. By hook or crook, the bugs will get their supper. It just takes..." The ice cream man doesn't finish his sentence. Caleb, the man in black, walks by Veronica on the street, and Caleb tells the ice cream man narration box to shut up, will ya? Veronica hears Caleb and asks, "Huh?" She wasn't saying anything. The man in black tells Veronica, "Wasn't talking to you, darling. You go get some rest now." Issue 6, Strange Neapolitan. This issue is another very cool one, I think. Like Neapolitan ice cream, the story goes down 3 different paths, 3 alternate realities. This is a silent issue with no dialogue. We see a man. He is at the ice cream truck, deciding what flavor of ice cream to buy. And he picks Neapolitan. 1 flavor strawberry, 1 vanilla, and 1 chocolate. The man walks away from the ice cream truck, and his life goes down 3 different paths. Path 1, strawberry. The man, he walks and he bumps into a girl, and it's like he is experiencing a rom-com meet-cute. And they hit it off and they go on a date, and they eventually make love. They get married. The girl gets pregnant. They have a baby. The baby eventually dies. The wife, she gets depressed. Months go by. The man comes home one day, and his wife is drunk. The man helps his wife into bed and talks her in. The man, he sits in a chair, and he is depressed about his life, and he is looking at a picture of his baby that is no longer with him. Path 2. Vanilla. The man, he walks away from the ice cream truck, and this time he instead comes across an injured dog with a broken leg. The man brings the dog to a vet, and the vet helps the dog. The man brings the dog home and feeds the dog. Eventually, the man bonds with the dog. They watch TV, they share a bed, they eat bacon, they go for walks. The man comes across a lost dog poster on one of their walks. It is the very same dog that he found. The man looks at his new dog. He has bonded with it and doesn't want to give the dog back to its rightful owner. So instead, the man puts the dog in his car and gets out of town. The man travels to the woods to a secluded cabin. Years go by. The man is sitting in a rocking chair, and the old dog is still alive in that cabin and lying on the man's lap, and both of them are happy. Path 3. The chocolate path. The man walks away from the ice cream truck, and this time he is still eating the ice cream, only there are bugs and worms in his ice cream, and it is gross. The man abandons his ice cream cone and throws it on the ground. In his home later on, the man cooks some eggs. One of the eggs in the carton hatches though, and a gross-looking bird is inside the egg. The man brings the bird to an animal shelter. Afterwards, the man goes to take money out of an ATM, and the ATM machine reads, "There's something awful inside you." The man walks through the park, and I'm pretty sure that's Caleb there, the man in black, just sitting on a park bench. The man walks home, and someone grabs him from behind and knocks him out with some chloroform, perhaps. When the man wakes up, he sees another man in a suit wearing a bird mask in front of him. The suit bird mask guy stabs the man in his knee with a knife. Days go by. The man is still sitting there with a knife in his knee. Eventually, a bird cracks its way out of the man's skin in his chest, and the ice cream man arrives and retrieves the bird, and the man dies. I don't really get the significance of the final story, but yes, that is what happened. Let's move on. Issue 7, My Little Poltergeist. A little 9-year-old girl named Lucy McMahon was best friends with a girl named Kayla. Kayla died of cancer though, and it was very hard on Lucy. And even though Kayla is dead, Lucy still plays with Kayla like she is an imaginary friend to her. And Lucy's parents are very worried about Lucy. Is her imaginary friendship with Kayla a simple grieving mechanism she will eventually grow out of? Or is she going a little schizophrenic crazy? The parents send Lucy to a psychiatrist. Lucy talks about her friendship with Kayla to the psychiatrist. In fact, she says, Kayla is sitting right here next to her. Lucy even starts talking to Kayla like she is right there. The psychiatrist is concerned. At dinner that night, the family sets a place at the table for Kayla per Lucy's instructions. Lucy tells her parents, "I don't want broccoli, but Kayla said she'd eat mine." The dad, he starts to lose it. He is growing more and more concerned that they are indulging their daughter's fantasies too much. That night, when Lucy is in bed, Kayla talks Lucy into going on an adventure. So Lucy, she leaves her bedroom, and she goes for a walk with Kayla. And Lucy, she kind of tells the story of their adventure like a children's picture book. Lucy in this children's story narrates, "And so Lucy and Kayla, princess warriors of the generous realm, crossed through the forest of cutesy fuzzies where they met friendly faces of all sorts. Instead, though, in the real world, those cutesy fuzzies are actually vicious rabid dogs. Lucy then narrates, and the path was all lit up by the lanterns of forever friendship, which shined bright and revealed rainbows under their feet. Lucy, in real life, finds little rainbow sprinkles on the forest floor, probably from the ice cream man, and she follows a path of them that seems to lead somewhere. Meanwhile, at home, Lucy's parents are concerned because they just discovered that Lucy appears to be missing. They eventually decide to phone the police. Lucy, she follows the sprinkles and they lead to a creepy, run-down looking shack. Lucy narrates, and the two princesses, who would never ever be apart, came upon a castle most glorious, the Fortress of Promises. Inside the Fortress of Promises, which is actually a shack, she finds instead a man strapped to a table, and the man's skin has been scraped off and he is bleeding, and the man says, "Help!" The ice cream man is there in his creepy, demonic form. The ice cream man ties Lucy up, and Lucy narrates, Princess Lucy and Kayla, or maybe it was just Lucy, were all tied up in the smiling man's evil hideout place. And the smiling man, he put a kitty in the soup pot. The ice cream man tells her, "You followed the sprinkles like all the rest." Lucy, talking to Kayla, says, "Kayla, I think we..." The ice cream man just cuts her off, though, saying, "Kayla's dead as a doornail, sweetheart. She got sick with the bad music." As the ice cream man continues on with all of his various creepy bullshit he is doing, Caleb, the man in black, arrives. Caleb shouts out, "Ricardus, I told you to knock it off." The ice cream man replies, "Screw you, Caleb. This is my time. You'll get yours when I'm good and done." Caleb frees Lucy and tells her to run on home. And Lucy, she books it. Caleb then tells Rick, or Ricardus, or the ice cream man, "Sorry, Rick, the rules have changed. Your time is up." Rick replies back, "Always such a smug little cowboy. Well, get this, partner. Before this is over, I'm gonna stick you right in the neck." Caleb, he tips his hat and says, "I guess we'll just have to wait and see then, won't we?" And then Caleb leaves. Once again, we don't really know what the deal with these two are. They definitely seem to be supernatural, but what are they and why are they opposed to one another? Lucy, she returns home. Her family is happy to see her and they hug her. Lucy has given up believing in her imaginary friend, Kayla. She eventually visits Kayla's grave and mourns her. Lucy, she finishes her make-believe story of her and Kayla by saying, "And they were the bestest of friends forever." Issue 8, Emergencies. We see an ambulance driving around, and we see the ice cream man's disturbing influence over the town that now seems to be affecting everyone. On this opening page, we see townspeople with pitchforks. We see a crashed car. We see various homes on fire. We see a man cut in half. On page 2, we see a guy on the sidewalk, covered in giant worms. We also see a bird eating a cat on a tree branch. It seems like no one is safe now from the ice cream man's influence. Continuing on, we follow two paramedics that are inside an ambulance. They are Mike and Jenny. Mike is popping a whole bunch of drugs that they raided from the hospital's cabinets. Jenny tells a story of feeding her sister's pet mouse a thimble of bleach as a child, and she ended up killing the pet mouse. Mike asks her, why would she do that? And Jenny answers, I don't know. There's this voice in my head, and sometimes it says things that make no sense, but I listen to it anyway. Some kids on the street try to wave the ambulance down, but the ambulance just drives on. The kids apparently found a dead clown that appears to have shot himself in the head. The kids decide that they will have to give the clown a funeral, so they drag the clown to a bridge, and they toss him into the river like the Vikings used to do for their funerals. In the ambulance, Jenny partakes in some of the drugs as well and pops some pills. They talk about various things while they are driving. They talk about social media and how toxic it is. Jenny talks about fitness magazines and how they make her have a bad body image of herself. Jenny, she sees a rabbit in the middle of the road and swerves, and we assumed to avoid the rabbit, but as the ambulance drives away, it seems she instead swerved into the rabbit to kill it. In a house in town, we see two lesbian women are arguing. They are partners and they have an aviary with lots of birds. The one woman, who apparently burned down this house, tells her partner, who cheated on her with another woman, that she filled her mistress's basement with kerosene, and she's on fire too, right across town in her perfect little house with a perfect lawn and her perfect expensive car. She'll be joining us in hell, so you can lust after her forever, forever on fire. The two paramedics stop at a diner for some coffee. In the diner, they talk about how the mix of drugs should make them start hallucinating. We see in the diner two truckers are talking. They are apparently playing a game called Forks Through Hands. The one trucker says, "You gotta go quick, one swift motion like a hammer, watch." And he stabs a fork right through his own hand. The other truck driver says, "Golly, Jed, how'd you get so good at forks through hands?" Jed answers, "I don't know. I don't want to be good at forks through hands." The two paramedics are now starting to trip balls, and they see themselves as insects and other weird stuff. A robber, he walks into the diner and he's wearing a mask. The robber holds the waiter behind the counter up at gunpoint. While that is going on, the two paramedics casually leave. The robber, he yells at the waiter saying, "Love thy neighbor as thyself. Treat others as you would like to be treated. I hate my neighbors. I hate everyone. I hate myself most of all." The waiter tells the robber, "I'm just an old man. There ain't no point in hurting me." The robber replies, "What are you talking about? Hurt you?" "Oh no, not you." The robber then turns the gun on himself and blasts himself in the head, killing him. Outside, we see the two paramedics get into their ambulance. Before we leave this page, I want to point out that the two truck drivers have continued playing Forks Through Hands, and now they have more forks through their hands. And we also see Bud Hickey from issue 3 as well in the diner. The paramedics drive off like nothing weird just happened. We see the ice cream man, and his influence continues to make many people in the town crazy. The two paramedics continue driving onwards, but then all of a sudden, something pops into Jenny's head, and she slams the brakes on the ambulance, and she says, "Shit, shit, shit, shit! The guy with a knife in his neck!" She forgot that she had a patient in the back of her ambulance. Jenny, she goes and opens the back of the ambulance door, and inside we see Caleb, the man in black, is there. The ice cream man appears to have followed through on his threat from last issue when he said that he was going to stick Caleb right in his neck. And with this kind of cliffhanger, we end Volume 2 of Ice Cream Man. Alright, so that was Ice Cream Man. I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me go through my thoughts on it. I really liked the artwork in this book, although I will say some of the faces kind of look the same, but beyond that, I really dig the artwork, and I like the graphic design and aesthetic of the book and the way it is designed, so great stuff there. Now, with regards to the overall story, this is a very weird book, and how sometimes the story kind of doesn't make sense, and it just kind of has these non sequiturs that are creepy and weird, but aren't really happening. So it's a very odd book, but I really liked a lot in here and was very intrigued in what the story was trying to do. So let's go through these various issues. Issue 1, Raspberry Surprise. That is the one where the ice cream man turns into a werewolf, which I thought was random and weird and unnecessary. But I did like the part with the little kid and his pet spider named Rupert, and Rupert was killing people and killed the kid's parents, and the kid was oblivious to it, so successfully creepy there. Issue 2, Rainbow Sprinkles, that was the one with the two drug addicts. I thought that was successfully creepy. And the ice cream man offering that one drug addict a hit at the end, and she ODs. And her drug addict boyfriend, Jimbo, lives on. Issue 3, good old-fashioned vanilla, is my favorite issue of Ice Cream Man so far. That is the music one where this Bud Hickey tries to recreate his one-hit wonder and gets sucked into this music world with all of these music characters. Amazing. Absolutely love that issue. Issue 4, Every Good Boy Does Fine. That is the one where the one guy's son died, and he wanted to have one last chance to hug his son, so they sort of dig him up, and he hugs his boy. But then we see his boy in hell, and he's being, I don't know, dogs are doing stuff, doing surgery to his brain, and all sorts of weird shit's going on. Very random issue, but we were introduced to Caleb, the man in black, at the end of that one, which we will sort of have carry on going forward. Issue 5, Ballad of a Falling Man. Kind of interesting. Just this guy falling and a whole bunch of creepy stuff going on in the building. I don't know. Issue 6, Strange Neapolitan, is great. A voiceless issue, no text, but very interesting. These 3 different stories of the paths that this guy's life could go down. Yeah, it was great, although very weird as well. Like the part where the bird comes out of his chest and he gets stabbed by a guy with a bird mask. I don't know, man. So weird. Issue 7, My Little Poltergeist, about the little girl with her imaginary friend. And then she goes to that shed and she sees the guy with no skin on it. That was creepy. And issue 8, Emergencies, with the 2 paramedics and anarchy going on in the town. And we find out that Caleb, the man in black, was stabbed in the neck. So what will that mean for the future of the battle between Ice Cream Man and Caleb, the man in black? Oh, very intriguing stuff. So yeah, I thought this was pretty good fun. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be back next week with more comics.